like the content we bring you about the heavy metal world, please like, subscribe, and comment to help us grow the channel. Hi, Steve.
Yeah. Hi, Bryce.
I just wanted to mention real quick that I have seen you live a couple times. The first time was back in 1989.
Right.
McAuley Schenker Group was on tour. You played the Salem Armory in Oregon with,
Right.
I believe, Vicious Rumors, and the headliner was Great White.
That's right. They were doing the headline tour. We were supporting, and I thought the other support band was Havana Black.
I thought in Salem it was Vicious Rumors was there.
Maybe it was Vicious Rumors. Yeah, that's strange because I worked with them again in the 1990s.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't. To be honest, it's so long ago I can't remember.
I might be mixing them up with the Accept Saxon show at the same arena within a couple of years of there. But we drove down from Portland just to see you guys, and and after you guys were done with the stage, we kind of took off because as far as we were concerned, you guys were the headliners.
Well, that's very kind of you. Thank you.
And also I had the opportunity to catch when you guys played at the Neptune up in Seattle. I think in 2017, and then also at the Reverb Hall in Portland, Oregon, a couple years later.
That's right. Yeah, I remember that was a great gig.
Yeah, those were both amazing shows. Yeah. I mean, you guys played 2.5 hours.
Yeah, we played a long time then. Yeah, I mean, I think we played a good 2.5 hours, which I think what it was, we played one festival, and they asked us if we could just do a one-off for 2.5 hours or 2 3/4 hours. And Michael liked the idea so much because we can get in so many of his back catalogue songs that was it. We started doing 2.5 hours every time we did a show, which for those of us that were on stage from beginning through to end was it could be quite a trial sometimes, if you don't drink too much water beforehand.
Right. Well, the singers got to all take turns.
Well, they were great, so they could come on and they could do 20 minutes and then go off again. And so it was no problem for them. But I think it was a bit of a problem for Chris Glenn because he was already starting to have a few problems with his knees.
Yeah.
Back then. And I think he found standing for 2 3/4 hours was quite a test for him. So I think he used to sneak a little sit down on the drum riser every now and then when he thought everybody wasn't looking.
Fantastic stuff. Well, today, Steve, we're here to talk about Lionheart, and your band's been making a powerful comeback since 2016. You've got a new record coming out titled The Grace of a Dragonfly. Can you talk a little bit about the story behind the concept album?
We basically, once we'd finished The Reality of Miracles, I'm not one of those people that goes back and listens to work that I've done too much. I mean, I will listen to it, but I don't kind of dwell on it too much. I like to push forward. Mm-hmm. So as soon as we finished doing that, we started writing songs for for a new album. And I was thinking, well, we've done Second Nature, which was a kind of bridging album between the 80s and Lionheart now in the 2010s. And then we did the album in its own right, which was the Reality of Miracles, where we wrote the entire album. And I was thinking, how can we progress from this? And so my thought was I love, the old bands like Pink Floyd and Yes and Genesis and Jeff Wayne's War of the Worlds project.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, which is a great album, isn't it?
Oh, I love it.
Where the whole thing was kind of based around a concept. And I thought, why don't we think about doing a kind of modern day concept album? So I mentioned it to Lee. He has a bit of a healthy fascination with the Second World War. Mm-hmm. And he said to me, well, I've always wanted to do an album about the Second World War. My thought was, well, doing an album about war, we have to be very, very careful because I'm very anti-war. And I said to Lee, if we can make sure that we present it as an anti-war album, not as a jingoistic pro-war, the Allies won and all this kind of stuff, which I hate. I mean, that's different from having respect for the people that fought in the war and lost their lives in the war. of which my father took part in the D-Day landings, and so I think we're all old enough that we have family members who were directly involved in the Second World War in one way or another. So we're almost kind of writing it out of personal experience. And I said to Lee, as long as we can kind of get this vibe across that it's an anti-war album, and Lee said, let's write it about the humane, the people who were involved in the innocent civilians who were, called up to the front line and had to fight the war. And as we always say, it's the people who start the wars are not the ones that have to go out on the front line and fight the wars. And 99.9% of the people that went out and fought the war didn't want to do it. They did it because they believed in the cause. They believed in fighting for democracy, for our freedom, which we tried to kind of respect on the album. But on the other hand, saying that war isn't the way to solve the world's problems. The way to do that is to get around a table and discuss. And so I felt as long as we were putting that message across, then let's do it. Obviously, we have major markets in Japan and in Germany, which the subject of war could be a little bit sensitive. I think, especially in Japan. And so we try to treat the whole subject in a kind of very sensitive, humane way. And I think the way Lee wrote the lyrics, I think he's actually had a lot of success with his kind of empathetic approach to the lyrics. So I think that worked out very well.
Yeah, the thing is that there's innocent people that were on all sides that were pulled into this thing and had their lives destroyed. And so, no matter what side you fought on, if you were a civilian, it was a horrible thing. And I wanted to say that with all the things going on in the world today, it's pretty significant right now. I think that you're doing an anti-war album.
Yeah, I mean, funnily enough, when we started the album and we decided to do the war theme, the conflict in Ukraine hadn't started. Obviously, the conflict in Gaza hadn't started, and as we've gone through the album, Ukraine obviously kicked off, and then in the last few months, it's kicked off in Gaza, and so I think this album is actually very relevant at this particular point in time, and I think it's more important to get that message across. That we don't fight, don't destroy. I mean, without getting too political about it, it's just destroying countries. Whole countries is not the way to go. I mean, any lost life is one lost life too many. You should be sitting around a table and discussing this, and you can come to the same end result. Whether you do it through war, whether you do it sitting around a table, it's the same end result. Why not save, tens of thousands of innocent lives in the meantime, and get around the table and discuss it?
I couldn't agree more. Lionheart's retained the core members of you, Dennis Stratton, Rocky Newton, and Clive Edwards. And can you talk just a little bit about your bandmates and what it's like to be able to keep making music with these guys?
Oh, we hate each other. No, we don't. No, we were. I mean, back in 1980, when the band first formed, that's when Dennis and I and Rocky got together as a unit. Really, Clive came in a little bit later on, right. But when we formed that unit, we just it's quite funny because Dennis is from the East End of London, which is kind of quite a kind of working class area. I'm kind of, I suppose, working to middle class. I come from West London, and then Rocky comes from a family which is actually quite aristocratic, and has a distant relation of his is Sir Isaac Newton, and they own a lot of land, in Lincolnshire, and so we came from three very completely different backgrounds, but it worked. I think we kind of appreciated each other because of that. And we've been absolute firm friends ever since. It's like we're like three brothers. And when Clive came into the equation, we became four brothers. With Clive, as long as you talk about fishing from time to time, he's there. And so that stayed a very, very firm bond. And I think that's really helped with doing the music, because we understand, we have a great and very deep understanding of each other, and a great respect for each other as well. When the band got back together again in 2016, we did ask Chad Brown, who was the singer on the Hot Tonight album, if he was interested in doing it, and he wasn't. He's got his own business doing something or other. And so we were put in contact with Lee. And when we did our first show back in 2016, we met Lee for the first time 2 days before the show, when we got together to rehearse. And we had no idea. We thought, well, maybe we'll hate him. Maybe we just won't get on with him and he won't like us. And as soon as he walked in the room, said, "Hi, guys." And we just hit it off, and he became one of the Lionheart brothers, and so I think in that respect, we've been very, very lucky that, we never argue. If we had disagreements, we just discuss it, and, it's a very, very close bond that we have. And I think that works very, very well.
Yeah, I think Lee's vocals are a perfect fit for Lionheart, And I wanted to ask you, the production of Grace of a Dragonfly is really great. Can you talk just a little bit about songwriting processes and recording? I know you have a studio, but can you talk a little bit about that stuff?
Yeah, sure. The songwriting, when we started doing Second Nature, that was obviously half songs that were written back in the 80s and half songs which we wrote new. And Lee and I kind of started this songwriting kind of partnership, if you like. I would write a backing track and I'd send it to Lee and I'd say, look, if you can do anything with it, if you've got an idea or two that you can put over the top, then great. And I was expecting a kind of very rough demo vocal to come back, which we could kind of then start working with. And he sent me back the finished vocal.
Wow.
And I said, that's really unusual. I don't normally work that way. Normally do a guide vocal first. But I listened to it and I thought, well, that's great. What's the point now of doing another vocal, which probably wouldn't be as good? And I realized then very quickly that he works in that way where he just has to do things like this. So it's a very quick process working with Lee. That then blossomed into a really great writing partnership on the Reality of Miracles. And when we started this new album, we started on a kind of songwriting level that was up here. And I think that's probably why the songs are so good. Dennis and Rocky also contribute their ideas too. But I think the real core of the songwriting is between myself and Lee. We've just developed a great, almost a psychic, telepathic working relationship with each other. We know, I know when I'm writing the backing track now, I can hear the kind of ideas that Lee's going to put over the top, but he never ceases to amaze me how creative he is with what he sends back. And I just think it's fantastic. In terms of production, I guess I started producing back in the mid 80s. And I think I've just kind of honed my technique. And obviously with computers these days, the technology that we have at our fingertips is so good. And a lot of people say, yeah, it's like, because you've got everything on a computer, all your compressors that you need and this, that, and the other, it's not real production or not real engineering anymore. And I disagree with that. I say, yes, it is, because you still need the experience. And a lot of kids, a lot of guys will go out and they'll buy Pro Tools and the latest Mac and the M processor and everything. And they'll record their song and it sounds like a demo. It doesn't sound very good. And they go, well, I've just spent all this money. Why does it sound so bad? And it's because you need to know what to do with it. You can go out and you can buy a $5,000 guitar. Doesn't mean you can play it. You have to learn. You need the experience behind you. So all that computers has done is made the technology that was the exclusive right of the biggest studios in the world, the greatest studios in the world, and put it into a computer and put it on your desktop. But you have to know what to do with it. So I think because of the experience I've had, and they say that you never stop learning with engineering, and it's absolutely true. You learn new techniques and new ways of doing things. But I think I've got to a point in my production and engineering career where I know best how to get the best sounds out and the biggest, fattest guitar sounds, how to put the vocals together so they sound, big and powerful. So I'm very happy with the way this last album sounds. I think it's kind of very representative of what I'm trying to do, and I think also representative of the direction that Lionheart has been going in. It's a bit heavier, it's a bit more powerful, and I think it's very representative of how Lionheart should be sounding right now.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more as far as on production. I mean, you can be a musician and own recording gear, but that doesn't necessarily make you a producer, because that's a whole different way of looking at everything. You have to step back and think about everybody and think about, you know what I mean, where the harmonies go, where does this go? And even though everybody's putting stuff in, the producer has a big role, And so, and I worked at a music store back in the early 2000s when a lot of this new digital recorders were coming out. So everybody could buy one and take one home, that wanted to. Mm-hmm. But I found a large percentage of people brought them back because they were a guitar player and they tried this and they went, wow, this is a whole different thing. It's a whole different mindset, So I couldn't agree with you more, but the production's great. And
thank you.
And I wanted to ask as well, is there a possibility of a tour coming up for 2024?
We hope so. We're looking into it now because it's been very difficult in the past because we've always all been involved in different projects.
Right.
So trying to find, slots within those projects where we're all free was very difficult. But this year, on the touring front, it's kind of got quite lightweight for some reason. Not quite sure why. Maybe it's something to do with post-COVID. Everybody's caught up with the gigs that were cancelled. Or postponed, and things seem to be a bit more lighter this year. So we've all got more time. So we're thinking, well, why don't we use that opportunity to try and get Lionheart out on the road at some point? So we're doing a festival in Manchester in the UK in October called Firefest, and we're going to try and get a few gigs in around that time in the UK. Maybe we'll get Japan in, if we can. They keep asking us if we will go back. So maybe we can get that organized this year. So we'll see. We're hoping, yes, definitely, that we're looking at doing some live shows this year.
Excellent. So I wanted to shift gears a little bit. It's if I'm correct, some of your bandmates are also involved with Michael Schenker as well as the Suite.
That's me.
Okay, is that you that are in?
I joined the Suite in let me get this right, in 1989. So basically, I was Rocky and I were in the McAuley Schenker Group. So Rocky joined first in 1986, and then he gave me a call and said that Michael was looking for a second guitar keyboards player. So we were both in the McAuley Schenker Group for about 5 years. After that, I then joined the Suite, and I was in the Suite for about 7 years. And then I played with a band called Eloy, which is a kind of German progressive band. And then that carried on going. And then in 2016, same year that Lionheart got back together again, I got a phone call from Michael Schenker, completely out of the blue, saying, I'm putting a new act together, Michael Schenker Fest, and are you interested in joining? So that's how I kind of got back in with Michael Schenker. So yeah, I've been with Michael Schenker in the Suite for some decades now.
So on the note of Michael Schenker Fest, are there any future plans for any more of that? And now, are you also in Michael Schenker Group? I know he's got so many projects.
Yes. Yeah. I was in the McAuley Schenker Group when the band got back together again in 2016. It was Michael Schenker Fest, and it's now the Michael Schenker Group again. So I've been in the 3 incarnations of that. The version I wasn't in was Temple of Rock, which was with Wayne Findlay was then playing keyboards and guitar.
When he had his Scorpions ex-bandmates in Temple of Rock.
That's right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that was with Herman Rarebell and Francis Buchholz. And yes, they were in Temple of Rock. That's right.
Is there any chance of more Michael Schenker Fest where they bring in all the singers? I know there's possibly some conflicts with Graham and Doogie over the Alcatraz thing, but
yes,
just curious about that.
Yeah, obviously that doesn't affect Michael, but I think he feels he's done that bit. So I think he kind of does an idea that he's got, and then that's it. Then it's finished with, and then he does another idea he's got. So I think he did the whole. I think what put that in his mind was when Graham was supporting Temple of Rock, and he came up and did guested on a couple of songs, and Michael thought, this is good, and then he thought maybe I should do a project where I go back over my whole career. And so I think that's where the whole kind of thing came in with first of all, it was 3 singers, and then Doogie White came in as the Temple of Rock representative. And I think that's why he thought about me, because I went back to the whole McAuley Schenker Group 80s anytime period. So that's why he kind of pulled me in, I think he just kind of fancied a lineup change and doing something completely different. And that's obviously when he got Ted McKenna.
Ted was fantastic.
Oh, Ted was amazing. Yeah. Incredible drummer, and, what a guy, just amazing. I really, really miss him a lot. I really do. Yeah.
We're all missing Ted. His drumming was so good. When I saw you guys the first time up in Seattle, Ted was still playing.
Yeah.
And it was what a joy to see that lineup,
He was a joy to watch. He was a joy to listen to. And he was a joy to have as a friend. He really was. He never had a bad word to say about anybody. Very positive, very calm. Just a lovely, lovely guy. Great loss, that was.
Yeah. Let me ask you, I always kind of like to ask this question. What's the craziest thing that's ever happened to you on tour or on stage?
Oh, cracky. I think I've actually kind of been quite lucky. I've got away with some really crazy things. Probably the craziest. I don't know. They're probably crazier things than this. But one thing that happened was in a band called Lyre. We were supporting UFO on the Strangers in the Night tour, and because we were a support band, we didn't have much in the way of monitors. So we did this twin guitar solo at the end of this song called "Blame It on the Kids." And I went over to the other guitar player side to kind of, boogie on down and all do my stuff and throw the poses. But I couldn't hear myself. But I thought, it doesn't matter because I know the part anyway. Right. And I went back over to my side of the stage at the end of the solo and realized I played the whole solo 1 fret down, too low, flat. And I thought, oh my God. I thought, I don't want to see the reviews of this gig, I think there was I thought of a crazy thing the other day, funnily enough, but which was a bit crazier than that. But I can't think what it was. But that was bad enough.
Yeah, perfect. So, Steve, is there anything that we missed, or anything else that you'd like to talk about, or any shout outs you'd like to make?
I think basically I just want to say to everybody out there that's stuck with Lionheart, thank you. From the bottom of my heart, because back in 2016 we honestly thought that when we got back together again to do this festival that nobody would remember us, and we had messages by the dozens after we played the show said it's so great that you're back together again, you got to do a new album. So thank you everybody for sticking with us, everyone that's discovered the band since we got back together again. Thank you also. Thanks for going out and buying the albums. Please go out and buy Grace of a Dragonfly. Stream it if you like, but go and buy the album as well. If you don't buy the album, you're missing out on some fantastic artwork. It's by Tristan Greatrex again. And he has totally excelled himself on this album. It is just, what he's done is fantastic. 16-page booklet in the CD. It comes with a circle of bands that he's done that takes each one of us in the band and links us all up with all of our previous bands, or bands that we've been in together. And it is an absolute work of a genius. So if you don't buy the album, you won't see this artwork. So go and buy it. You won't regret it, I promise you.
Yeah, it sounds really awesome. I can't wait for it to come out. So I just want to thank you for being my guest today. And people need to pick up a copy of The Grace of a Dragonfly when it comes out on February 23rd, I believe. 23rd. Yeah, and fantastic album. I've listened to it. I really dig it. And it's definitely worth checking out and adding to your collection. And I don't care what they say about CDs being dead. I think CDs are still fantastic and a great way to, have a trophy and support the band that you love and care about,
Yeah. Thanks for those words, Bryce. I totally agree with you. And I also agree about the CDs. Whatever you say about the quality of vinyl, I mean, CD is fantastic quality too. So CD, vinyl, it's coming out on both. So you can take your choice. It's been great talking to you, Bryce. And
thanks again. I know you got more interviews to do today, so appreciate your time, Steve, and look forward to catching Lionheart as soon as we can.
Excellent. Lovely. Hopefully, maybe see you on the road somewhere, Bryce.
That'd be fantastic. Thanks again, Steve.
Lovely. Okay, thanks, Bryce.
All righty.
See you.
Bye.
If you like the content we bring you about the heavy metal world, please like, subscribe, and comment to help us grow the channel.